Let's move on to the personnel. So who's coming and who's going? That seems to be the typical um, point of discussion these days with any college football team.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much movement with the transfer portal, and then and you can't fault these kids. I mean, we wanted these rule changes to happen so that this could benefit the player, right? I think a lot of us saw that 1 year of kind of a penalty year to change schools as being a little harsh, and we knew that when this would happen, it was going to be wild. There were going to be kids switching all the time, every year, and there are some people that might have a little bit of problem with the transfer portal because it is kind of the new age that does feel like maybe, and I've heard people say it's like NFL free agency. I mean, it's like, well, these are college kids that only have 4 years of eligibility. They got 5 years to do it. They need to strike while the iron's hot. They need to go where they can get reps. They need to go where they can play. So there's been kids who's going to leave the transfer portal for Oregon. Kids are going to come in. So they've got a defensive tackle from Washington, a cornerback from Colorado, both really strong players that probably will help on day one. We obviously know the Bo Nix story. People are kind of split on that a little bit because, again, I think there's a little bit of backstory there. There's some history there with the quarterback position. I think the transfer portal is great for every single position on the team. But with the quarterback, it's a special situation there. There's some egos involved with that room. There's a hierarchy built into that room. There's only one guy with the ball, and he takes 99.9% of the reps. Everybody else is holding the clipboard or they're handing signs in, or singling signs in. And so it's a delicate balance. Oregon kind of, I think, maybe by just trying to take as many guys as they could to try to increase as much competition, screwed up a little bit of the balance of what they have with this recruiting classes. They usually only take one quarterback. They took two. So Robbie Ashford left, which is one of the quarterbacks from Alabama. Really good quarterback. Played baseball too at Oregon. He'll find a spot. But, now you've got Bo Nix coming in, and now you got this kind of threat of, well, what would happen if Bo Nix gets the start? The other guys might say, hey, I've done my time here. I'm going to transfer. And now you've just got a bunch of walk-ons or other transfer portal, and it's hard to build the room again. So I think people are really excited about Ty Thompson, and they thought that this next year would be kind of a wide open, clear path for him. And I think by Bo Nix coming in, it just clouds that up a little bit. If Ty's the right guy, then it'll be fine. If Bo's the right guy, it'll be fine. No, I don't think anybody has any qualms with the best quarterback playing. I just think that a lot of people have kind of their heart set on some of these younger guys. And, that might be a little bit of an issue for some of these people who are so set on recruiting. They get so fired up about recruiting. They get to know these kids at such a young age or whatever that they see them, and they kind of get heartbroken, it feels like, when they don't choose their school or whatnot. And the same thing might go with the kid who might transfer a couple years in or whatnot. So we've got some kids that are on the bench, didn't really get much playing time, that they've transferred over to Nevada. There's been a lot of coaches that went to Nevada. If you didn't go to Miami, you probably went to Nevada. That's kind of how it looks for this Oregon coaching staff, the Mario Cristobal coaching staff. But I think it's really exciting time. I think you're going to see this year, especially, I think you're going to see more transfer portal stuff.
Yeah, I think that quarterbacks are going to have to learn that there's going to be competition everywhere. It seems like they're running around looking for the open spot and the big program that has a void. Well, I don't know that really exists anymore unless you want to drop from a pretty substantial Power 5 team like Oregon and go down and play in a Group of 5 conference possibly. And you're still going to have competition to a certain extent. So, yeah, somebody's not going to be happy between Ty Thompson and Bo Nix, of course.
Yeah, and
there's only one.
Right, and maybe
only one spot.
There's only one spot, right? And you would think that then, because the seniority, the Bo and the history with Kenny Dillingham, the offensive coordinator, that you would assume Bo Nix would have maybe a little bit better chance. And that, again, this era, kids want to play immediately, and they're looking around the country and they're seeing freshmen play, especially at the quarterback position. They're seeing freshmen play, and you have to give these kids credit. Again, 20 years ago compared to now, college football is damn near completely changed. I mean, it's still the same game, but it is so much more high tech. How many coaches? I mean, how many coaches Newt Rockne had on his staff? I mean, think of the. I mean, there's more guys on just the recruiting staff. There's more. There's a chief of staff now for Oregon football. What is that position? The chief of staff. So I just think that these coaches now have so much access to so much information, and they've got all these clinics going around the country. You've got these quarterbacks that are now probably more prepared for the modern day game than ever before coming out of high school. We've seen this effect in college basketball for sure for the last maybe 20 years, where the kids have just really developed with AAU ball and having so much more success, so many more opportunities to play, that they just develop faster, and they're just better coming out of high school, flat out. So you get some of these kids that at freshman level, they can play. Whereas, 20 years ago, that was never even a thought.